Hey guys, Crispy here. Just continuing on with the series. Today I'm going to be going over Tankbuster Boys and Burna Boys. Um, as far as my experience with both of these units, I never really used Burna Boys in 6th or 5th edition. I didn't own them in 5th edition, and then when I bought them in 6th edition, I sort of was in the process of making them, and then they changed the way flamers worked. So then I was like, and got a downer on them, and then never really fielded them except for in my commando units. For Tankbuster Boys though, I did used to sort of fairly often field a 10-man unit and a 15-man unit, and I found both of those units were quite good. Obviously the 15-man unit was pretty fantastic. Stick that in the battle wagon with open topped and just fire away at Space Marines and whatever else. Obviously you had the glory hog rule with the tank busters, so you had to make sure that vehicles weren't the closest targets, if that's how you want to use them, and not shoot your vehicles, which is generally I was trying to take out Space Marine infantry with them rather than their vehicles, because I found that the strength 8 was a little bit average. But anyway, that's my take on both of those units in the previous edition. So let's take a look and see how they've changed in 8th edition. And I'll start with the good old Tankbuster Boys. So Tankbusters now, they are 17 points a model, which I believe is an extra 2 to 3 points on what they were in the previous edition. But I think that overall they've gotten a lot better. So let's take a look at their stats. A Tankbuster, he has a 5-inch movement, weapon skill, he's hitting on 3s in combat, ballistic skill is hitting on 5s. He's strength 4, so that's the extra point in strength that all boys have got now. Toughness 4, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 6 and a 6+ save, so basically your standard boy there. Then you can also take a boss knob with this squad. He moves 5 inches, weapon skill is hitting on 3s in combat, shooting he's hitting on 5s, he's strength 5, toughness 4, 2 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 7 and a 6+ save, so he's also benefited from an extra point of strength. And then you have the good old little bomb squig. So he moves 5 inches, he is hitting on 2s in combat, his shooting is hitting on 2s, he's strength 3, toughness 4, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 4 and a 6+ save. So he's actually pretty decent in combat, really. I mean, hitting on 2 is not too bad. The squad itself, you can have up to 15 guys, and one of those can be a boss knob, and then for every 5 tank busters you can take 2 bomb squigs, so that's pretty cool. The tank busters are armed with rocket launchers, stick bombs and tank buster bombs, and the bomb squig, he's obviously carrying his squig bomb. Let's go on to the weapons here. So for every, I think it's every 5, let me just double check here, yeah, every 5 models you can replace one of the rocket launchers with dual rocket pistols. The profile for that is range 12, pistol 2, strength 7, -2 to your save and D3 damage, so that's not too bad for a pistol. The rocket launcher profile is range 24, assault 1, strength 8, -2 and 3 damage, so obviously different to your starts or guard rocket profiles. We don't do D6 damage, we just do a flat 3 damage. So I mean, I suppose it just makes our rocket launchers a little bit more reliable overall. The squig bomb has an 18-inch range, it's assault 1, it's strength 8, -2 and D6 damage, but the weapon can't shoot models which have the fly keyword. And then you've also got the cool tank hammer. It's changed a little bit different now, so it doesn't have a strength, AP or damage value. What happens is when you hit something, it just takes D3 mortal wounds, and then you remove the bearer after that's been inflicted, sort of thing. So I suppose it's just him exploding along with his tank hammer, which is pretty cool. I don't know if that's really a good choice. I suppose it might be cool if it might be sort of clutch if you're there and you got something with 2 wounds and you just need to take it out, or some characters maybe, but you probably want to just stick with the rocket launchers maybe, or rocket pistols. Then you've got your stick bomb. That's just the same as every other stick bomb, so range 6, grenade D6, strength 3, AP 0 and 1 damage. But then these guys have also got the Tankbuster bombs, they're pretty tasty. So they're at 6-inch range as well, but they're grenade D3, strength 8, -2, and D6 damage. So even though you're only hitting on 5s and you're probably only going to get 2 hits, 2 shots with this, I think that every now and again that's going to be pretty decent. Let's have a look here. War gear options. So your boss knob, he can take all the weapons that other knobs can take. So power claws and all the other rest of stuff. Ability wise, you've got the here we go rules, so you can reroll failed charge rolls. You've got the mob rules, so you can use your own mob size as your leadership or the mob size of a larger mob nearby. You also have the tank hunter's ability, which is you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made by this unit that target vehicles. So that's obviously way better than our glory hogs rule. Now there's no downside to the rule at all. And then the bomb squig, obviously if the bomb squig dies after you've used it, which it always does, you don't have to count that towards morale. So it's a good thing that they've actually added that in there, because if you're using 6 of those bomb squigs and you let go all 6 of them at a vehicle, because they're hitting on 2, so they're pretty good, then you would be at effectively leadership 1 minus D6, but luckily they GW have seen that there and addressed that issue, so that's really nice of them to do. So overall I think that these guys have gotten a little bit better, and obviously the extra points added on top have sort of kept them in line with what they're worth in the game, I think. So let's take a look at good old Burna Boyz. Burna Boyz now, they're just exactly the same as far as stats go to a normal boy. So movement 5, hitting on 3s in combat, ballistic skill hitting on 5s, strength 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 6, and a 6+ save. This squad, you can also take Spanner Boys in this squad. They move 5 inches, hitting on 3s in combat, 5+ for shooting, strength 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 6, and a 6+ save as well. The squad itself, you can have 15 Burna Boyz, and up to 3 of those can be Spanner Boys. So this is a unit that if you're running Cam Wall or something like that, you might want to, it might be an okay option to take 5 Burna Boyz and make 3 of them Spanner Boys. I've thought about that myself for my own Cam Wall. And even though they only heal 1 wound automatically on a vehicle and you can only do it once, it's still a fairly cheap way, because these guys are only about 14 points each. It's a really cheap way of, or there might even be 12 actually, but it's a really cheap way of getting mechs into your list. Let's have a look at their weapon profiles here. As far as weapons go, I should say Slugger. The Spanner has a Slugger, Chopper, and Stick Bombs, and the Burna Boyz, they've obviously got the Burner and Stick Bombs. So let's have a look at the Burner profile. It's range 8 now. It's assault D3, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. And when you're working out the hits for an entire squad of Burna Boyz, rather than rolling it all individually, you just roll 1 D3 and work it out that way. Which I think is actually better overall, because that means that you can just use 1 command point to re-roll the hits for the entire squad. Which I imagine you'll probably be doing fairly often, because you want to try and get those 2 to 3 hits with this squad. Slugger profile, that's the same as every other slugger, so range 12, pistol 1, strength 4, AP 0, and 1 damage. The burner can also be used as a combat weapon. So in combat, it's the strength as user, -2 AP and 1 damage. Chopper, that's the same as every other chopper. So that is strength user, AP 0, 1 damage, and then you get an additional attack with the chopper. Or you can give your Spanner Boyz a kill saw. So the kill saw is 2 times their strength, so strength 8 in this case, -4 AP, 2 damage. But when you attack with the kill saw, it's -1 to your weapon skill, so you'll be hitting on 4s. And then the stick bomb is a 6-inch grenade D6, strength 3, AP 0, 1 damage grenade bomb thing. I like the idea of the kill saws. I think that they might be pretty cool on your Spanner Boyz. I think they are fairly expensive though, points wise. They might be about 20 to 25 points which is going to put your Spanner Boy at around about 37 points a model. So it's not a cheap option to take, but I do like that it's at -4 and 2 damage per hit, so that's pretty cool. And then if you use the Warg banner and you buy these guys, then you don't have to worry about the subtract 1 from the hit roll. So that's pretty cool. Abilities wise, these guys have the Here We Go rule, so they can reroll failed charge rolls. The mob rule, so they can use their own mob size or the mob size of a nearby mob for leadership purposes. The Mechaniac rule, which is what I spoke about earlier, where if you're within 1 inch of a vehicle, then you can repair 1 lost wound, other than vehicles that fly. And then they also have the Pyromaniacs rule, which is if you destroy an enemy unit, then you don't have to worry about morale tests until the start of your next turn, which is probably super good for this squad, because these guys, you're going to be throwing them forward probably as quick as possible, because your opponent is not going to let these guys get anywhere near them. So you're going to be throwing these guys forward, and they're probably going to destroy whatever they touch if you roll decent enough with your D3. Because even though it's only D3, you know, these guys can get up to 15 burners. So, you know, up to 45 automatic hits at strength 4. If you're coming up against any guard or elder or anything like that, you're wounding on 3s. So they can be, I imagine, fairly horrendous. And then if the burner doesn't do it, you can just charge in and hit them with a -2 in combat. So yeah, so overall I think the squad is pretty good. I mean, it's not very expensive as far as what you get. 12 points or thereabouts for a model with a burner is pretty decent. And then you've obviously got, while you don't have the D6 shots like every other flamer, which is a little bit of a letdown, you do have the -2 in combat, which is pretty good. And also these guys can also be used, as I said earlier as well, to take 3 Spanner Boys for quite cheap, because they don't cost anything additional. And then you can, you know, you can keep your walkers and that sort of thing going a little bit longer with them. So there you go, guys. That's the breakdown of those 2 squads. I think that both of them are fairly decent picks. I will definitely be trying the burners in this edition. I've already made 12 of them so far, and I've got another 3 to make, so I'll be running a unit of 15, and I'll be sticking them in my battle wagon. I think that that's a fairly decent tactic. I also think the truck might be a viable choice as well, but I want to try them in the battle wagon first. As far as the Tankbustas go, I like them as well. I do like the straight up 3 damage on a strength 8 hit. Certainly seems really good. I probably, if I was to run them, I'd probably just run a unit of 10 and stick them in my squig off. So those are my plans with both of these. And yeah, and let's get on to the support units for both of them. So I've sort of briefly touched on it, but you know, you've got your Warg banner to give both of these squads +1 to hit in combat, which is especially good if you take 3 Spanner Boys with kill saws with the Burna Boyz, which I don't know if you really want to. As I said, they're a bit expensive. You've also got your custom force fields to give them the 5+ invulnerable save from shooting. You've got your Pain Boys for the 6+ feel no pains, which is fairly decent as well. And I think if you're gonna, like, there's still also an option which is semi-viable, depending on the table you're playing on, but you could run them as well next to the War Bus, and with his War ability, I believe it allows you to move, advance, and then also charge if you want to, which, you know, is not that bad an option, especially with the Burna Boyz, because of the -2 in combat. So charge with a larger mob, say of 20 boys or 30 boys, let them soak the Overwatch, hopefully they make it in. You've got the Here We Go for the rerolls, and then you charge your Burna Boyz in. You know, you could also try a crazier tactic of teleporting these guys around, so you could teleport your Tankbuster units up next to someone, blast them with 15 rockets using the Weird Boy as well, so there's another support option. Obviously the Weird Boy teleportation doesn't really work with the Burna Boyz because you've got to be outside of 9, so you won't be able to just blast them with the burners. You'd have to actually wait a turn, so I think that that would almost assuredly be the death of that squad. So only really use that ability with the Tankbusters unless you're going to deploy the Burna Boyz behind some line of sight blocking terrain. Then, you know, sort of do like a 2-turn combo there. But yeah, I think both of them are fairly good. I don't think that Burna Boyz, I've seen some people saying that Burna Boyz have been nerfed. I don't believe that they have been nerfed. I think that they're still pretty good. I mean, they've got some, they don't have the D6 shots, and you know that does suck, but they do have the Pyromaniac rule, so they can just ignore morale tests until your next turn if you kill someone, which you're fairly likely to do, especially with that command point reroll. And these guys are fairly fast if you stick them on foot, and they can still shoot out of the top of their transport vehicles. So yeah, so there you go, guys. That's both of those units. If you like the video, obviously like and subscribe. If you want me to go over any of the other units in the book, please let me know in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to do so. And thanks for listening, and I'll catch you guys later.